Okay, you know the scene. It's late, the lights are out, but your face is lit up by that cold, blue glow of your phone. You told yourself just one quick check. But suddenly, 45 minutes have just vanished. You've been scrolling through a black hole of silly videos and angry comments. If that sounds a little too familiar, you're definitely not alone. So let's get into the neuroscience of why this keeps happening to all of us.
And then, when you finally lock the screen and put the phone down, you don't feel good, right? You don't feel rested. You just feel this weird, hollow emptiness. Kind of this low-grade anxiety that you can't even put your finger on. It's like your soul's been scraped out with a teaspoon. So what is actually going on here?
Well, here's what I want you to hear. You're not lazy, you're not weak-willed, and you are not broken. According to Dr. Anna Lembke's incredible book, Dopamine Nation, you are the victim of a biological hack. Your phone has basically been turned into a digital dopamine syringe, and we're going to figure out exactly how it works.
Now, to understand this hack, we have to pop the hood on your brain. And we've got to start by busting a huge myth that almost everyone, even so-called success gurus, gets completely wrong about how our minds are wired.
Okay, here's the biggest misunderstanding. Pop science loves to call dopamine the pleasure molecule. But you know what? Modern neuroscience says that's just not true. Dopamine isn't about the pleasure of having something, it's the chemical of wanting it. It's the craving, the seeking. It's the itch, not the scratch.
And that difference is absolutely critical. Why? Because your smartphone wasn't designed to satisfy you. It was designed to keep you seeking. The engineers in Silicon Valley are paid millions to hijack this exact brain circuit. You know those three little dots when someone's texting, or pulling down to refresh your feed. It's all a variable reward system that creates a compulsive loop to keep you hunting, not enjoying.
So, what does all this constant hunting actually do to our brains? To really get it, we need to look at this brilliant model from Dr. Anna Lembke, the pleasure-pain seesaw. So just imagine a seesaw right in the center of your brain. On one side, you've got pleasure. On the other, you've got pain. Now, your brain's number one job, its prime directive, is to keep that seesaw perfectly level, totally balanced. And this constant, automatic search for balance, it's called homeostasis. So let's say you do something fun, like watch a funny reel on Instagram. Whoosh! The seesaw tips over to the pleasure side. Now, to restore balance, your brain immediately sends out these imaginary little guys, let's call them neuroadaptation gremlins, and they jump on the pain side. But here's the crucial part. They push a little too hard, and they stick around for a little too long. And that is why, after every quick, cheap high, like binging a show or scrolling through TikTok, you get that crash. You feel that wave of boredom or that dip in your mood. That feeling, it's the biological cost of your brain restoring balance. It's not in your head, it's literally in your wiring.
But what happens when this cycle just repeats over and over and over again? Well, that's where things get much more serious. See, in our modern world, we never give that seesaw a chance to level out. And that leads to a pretty disastrous long-term effect.
I mean, just think about it. From the second we wake up, we are just slamming our foot on the pleasure pedal. We're checking emails, we're listening to podcasts, we're checking notifications, we're streaming Netflix at night. We are constantly, relentlessly pushing pleasure. So what does the brain do in response to this constant assault?
Well, it doesn't just send out a few gremlins. It deploys an entire army of them to live full-time on the pain side of the seesaw. And the result is that your seesaw is no longer level by default. It is now chronically, permanently tilted toward pain. This means your new normal becomes things like background anxiety, chronic boredom, and an inability to focus. And this can lead to a state called anhedonia, because you have so many of these little gremlins camped out on the pain side. Simple pleasures, like a good coffee with a friend or watching a beautiful sunset, they just don't do it for you anymore. You now need a massive hit of stimulation just to feel okay. And this is the very root of procrastination. So the next time you feel lazy, remember this. You might just be in a dopamine deficit. Okay, that's the problem. The gremlins have taken over. The good news is we can send them packing. We don't have to throw our phones into a river. We just need a reset. Let's call it the rescue protocol. So the neuroscience is pretty clear on this. For your brain to truly re-level that seesaw, it needs a minimum of 4 weeks. A weekend detox? It's just not enough time. The gremlins will just laugh at you. This requires a real, honest commitment. So here's the protocol. 3 steps. First, a 30-day deletion. You pick your #1 addictive app and you get rid of it. Second, and this is so key, you build barriers by changing your environment because, trust me, willpower is a muscle that gets tired. And third, we're going to embrace a concept called hormesis, which means using healthy effort to create natural, sustainable dopamine.
So what does building barriers actually mean? It's this idea of self-binding. You're not relying on willpower. You're just making your addiction harder to get to. Use physical binding, like charging your phone in the kitchen overnight. Use time binding, like setting strict windows for when you can use the internet. And use categorical binding, like deciding your phone is only for calls and maps and your laptop is for work. And now for the secret weapon, hormesis. So remember the seesaw, right? If pressing the pleasure side eventually leads to pain, we can reverse engineer it by intentionally, voluntarily pressing on the pain side with stuff like exercise, cold showers, or even just reading a difficult book. The brain responds by flooding your system with natural, long-lasting dopamine to restore balance. You start chasing constructive effort to find real, sustainable pleasure.
So, at the end of the day, your procrastination, it isn't a character flaw. It's a biological signal. It's your brain screaming for a break. You can't build your future on a broken seesaw. So, the challenge is really simple. Pick your most toxic app. You know which one it is, the one that eats all your screen time. The question is, do you have the guts to delete it for just 30 days and see what happens when you finally let your brain find its balance again?